are you guys doing today? Good to see everybody. Welcome. Great to have you. Also great to have everybody online, Babcock Ranch, wherever you're joining us. And if you're just catching up or just getting back into town or visiting, we are just kicking off a new series for the rest of this year. We are reading through the New Testament together. We started October 1st. We're following the Bible recap plan. This weekend, Saturday and Sunday is day 11 and 12. And I love what I'm hearing about it. If you have not jumped in with us, we'd love to invite you. Start. It is so good. If you started and stopped, jump back in with us. There's still a lot to go. And then every week, we're going to be unpacking something we're going to read the next week. Pastor John did a fantastic job last week with the Sermon on the Mount. I need to stop inviting him back because every time I have him, you're like, listen, like he's better than you. When's he coming back? Why did you come back from vacation? No, I love John. You know, I cheer my friends on like crazy, so it's great. So he said it so great. He set it up so well. And he said a couple things that are so important for our message this weekend, that every detail in the Bible matters, that this is a culture of imagery and symbolism. And so I am going to unpack a story. And Jesus, I think probably one of the most radical, revolutionary stories he ever did, or things he ever did, is not something we catch because it's not right there in the text. You have to understand where he was, when he was there, and who he did it with. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of history and a little bit of the understanding. And today what we're going to do is we're going to journey Mark 4 through 8. We're going to cover about 5 chapters that happens over the course of, we think, a couple, 2-3 weeks. And you're going to start reading Mark 4 on Wednesday, and we'll get to the rest of it in the weekend. But really what I want to do is I want to talk about, and Jesus is about to address a human condition that has literally a tale as old as time. It is in us, and it has been in us since we literally sinned and fell short of God's glory in the Garden of Eden. But before we do, I want to kind of bring this to light by a sociology experiment that was done years ago with 16 middle school, late elementary school boys. Sociologists wanted to figure out how deep and how natural is this. And so what they did is they threw these 16 boys on a playground, and they just said, hey, feel free to go play. And so the boys apparently were Doritos, because that must be all they ate. And so they played around, they played together, they just doing normal stuff. They were on the monkey bars, they were on the slides, they were doing all this stuff. And then the millennials came in and said it was too dangerous. So they took all the monkey bars out and they took all the slides out and handed them all iPads. It's just a joke, it's just a joke. And so then what they did is they were playing, having a great time. And then they brought them back and they said, okay, now here's what we're going to do. We're going to divide you evenly into 2 groups. So they put 8 boys into group A and 8 boys into group B. And then they said, now we're going to assign a leader to each group. So group A got a leader, we'll call him Adam. And group B got a leader, we'll call him Brad. And so now you have Adam as the leader of group A, 8 of them. B, Brad is group B. And then they did one other thing. They said they gave both of the boys $100 each. And they said, here's when we're going to send you back out to the playground, but here's what you have to do with the money. There's just 2 rules. Number 1, you can't keep it. You have to give it to somebody. You can give it in small increments, large increments. You just have to give it away. Rule number 2 is you can't give it to each other, which that's what me and my boys would have done. I'm like, hey, they don't got to know. Like, let's go, And so they did that, and they put them back on the playground, let them run around, do their stuff for about 15, 20 minutes, and they brought them back, and the sociologists were actually pretty surprised that where they thought they would end, they got to right away with no competition, no incentive, no even like kind of poking the bear or whatever the case may be. And what they found was at the end of the time, Adam had given all his money away, Brad had given all his money away, but who do you think Adam gave all of his $100 to? Which group? Group A. And who did Brad give all of his money to? Group B. No, they couldn't give it to Adam and Brad. You guys weren't listening to the instructions. It's really good that you weren't a team leader. No, what they found was that as soon as they divided them, as soon as they put them on teams, while they could have given the money to anybody, the minute they said, you are group A, Adam felt compelled or motivated that only his people could get his money. And Brad had the same reaction that only his people could get his money. And they thought with these boys, they'd have to bring in some competition. And what we realized is that as soon as they had their people, they created what we have, sides. And they saw this thing play out, and it's the same thing we've had literally since we began, is that we as human beings are side takers. There's no way around it. It's everywhere. It's been that way throughout history. There's never been an exception. We tend to divide the human race into 2 categories, and we do it with a jillion categories. We could come up with a category for everything, but it always comes down to 2 groups. Us, you know the groups, and them. And us is the good side that I'm a part of, and them is whoever's not on my side and they are bad. In fact, I believe and I will take to my grave, I think, two of the most powerful words, and I believe two words that are doing more damage around the globe than any other words are the words us and them. Those words are ripping families apart, ripping people apart, causing hate, anger, vitriol, violence. And here's what's even more fascinating that sociologists have found, and it's true for all of us. We do this, that if someone is in my group, I have a tendency to magnify their good qualities and overlook their bad qualities. But if they are in the other group, I will magnify their bad qualities and kind of cover up their good qualities. Also, I will give my side the benefit of the doubt when it comes to motive. I will judge them going like, well, they meant well, but I will judge the other side based on actions. And by the way, not one of us are an exception from this. We all do this, we do it internally, and not only that, you have to understand that we literally live in a culture that is conditioning us to do that. And so we have this us and them. The other thing we do is anybody in my group, I have a tendency to like at least highlight the uniqueness. We're all different, we're all unique. But if you're on the other side, yeah, y'all the same. Y'all alike. We do this, and it is a problem. We do this, and let me give you some examples. Some sports. I think if I were to ask you, what is the greatest sports rivalry in American sports, we would all agree that it is the Yankees and Red Sox. That's right. You're shaking your head. Because I will tell you as a sports fan, there's only one other option. It would get out of here with the Packers and Bears. It is the Wolverines and the Buckeyes. And they hate each other. Now listen, I can show you, I have the power real quick to make these two teams agree and love each other, and the Yankees and Red Sox agree and love each other. If I say, that's the best rivalry, you know what just happened to all the Yankees and Red Sox? No, it's us! Wait, it's us, right? Yeah! They just went from enemies to friends. Why? Because now somebody else is on the other side. Do you see what happened? But this happens not just in sports. I mean, we got Eagles and Giants. To say it, if you've never been to Philly, man, Philly, they're different. If you don't know, if you're not a sports person in the gaming world, this is a big one, PlayStation and Xbox. I mean, hey, listen, ask your kids, it matters. Technology, we have born-again, spirit-filled Christians that use Apple products. And then we have barely saved in the beginning of sanctification, people still using the leftovers of Androids. The original sin. Hey, he's a cop, yes, sir. How about for some of my baby boomers and some of my older millennials? Back in the day, there was only two types of trucks. Ford, Chevy. Let's get a little bit more real. Elephants and donkeys. I can make all kinds of jokes about descriptors on both sides of that. But all of a sudden, it gets real. Or how about brown skin, black skin, white skin, yellow skin, red skin? All of a sudden, see, we love to create categories. And we live in a world that has literally brainwashed us. That goes, if we're not constantly discovering why we should be divided, your silence is damning. This is where the world we live in. We have been conditioned to let our preferences divide us, and they spur on arguments and hate and separate us. And the question is like, is there an antidote? The good news is, the time we're gonna spend together is Jesus dealt with the very same thing. Jesus had the same problem, and it was way worse than Yankees, Red Sox, or Wolverines and Buckeyes. It was us and them. It was Jews and Gentiles. Just so you know, his people, they were like, well, we'll be the Jews, and everybody else will be the Gentiles. That's us and them. And they had God's people, and they misunderstood his favor and his blessing. And so he had a very revolutionary idea, and if you track what he did, where he did it, and who he did it with, he sends a message that we miss because we read it with 2025 American eyes. And so what I'm doing, I'm putting you in the story for a minute. We're going to be in Mark 4-8. If you have your Bible or you have your YouVersion, you want to follow along, go to Mark chapter 4, just three really important words. Mark chapter 4, verse 35, Jesus is doing ministry and his disciples. He's at the Sea of Galilee. I'm gonna show you a picture in a minute. I was there a few years ago. The Sea of Galilee is much smaller than I thought it was. It's very underwhelming. You can like literally see across it. It's like it's pond. So he's at the Sea of Galilee and he's been doing ministry. And then it says this in Mark 4:35, it says, that day when the evening came, he said to his disciples, let's go over to the, say it with me, other side. Now when we read that, we think he went what? Across the lake. That's not what happened. The other side was an actual title, geographic region in the days of Jesus, and it wasn't divided by the Atlantic Ocean. It was divided by a little river about from me to the back wall. And it had 2,500 years of vitriol, hate, anger, wars, battles, slavery. And they literally, the Jews literally referred to the other people who lived on the other side as the other side. Go ahead and show that picture of me on the sea. That's me on the Sea of Galilee. We've just pushed off. We're worshiping on a boat. It's beautiful. It's misty and it's hazy, and you can still literally almost see all the way across to the other side. And so that's just, I just want to show you that picture. And let me give you some information, and then I'm going to show you a map, and I think you'll all get it, and then we'll dive into the story, because it's going to make this story come alive. Here's what you need to know about the other side. Somebody say the other side. Somebody say the other side. The other side. There was a rabbinic tradition about the other side in Jesus' day. On the other side was 10 cities. The Bible refers to them as the 10 cities or Decapolis. These were originally the 7 nations of Canaan. Isaac was the 12 tribes of Israel. Ishmael was the 7 tribes of Canaan. They've never gotten along in that part of the world. 7 nations of Canaan, it was filled with pagan temples. They would exalt violence. They would do sexual expression. They were greedy. Basically, Canaan and the other side was everything Israel was not. If you're still with me, say I'm with you. Moreover, this one's really big. The pig was the most unclean animal in Israel's culture. It was very unclean, and you could have nothing to do with it. Some of you know about this. In the other side, it was regarded as sacred, and it was worshipped. In fact, they've excavated for thousands of years, and they've never found a pig on the Israel side, pig bones, but they've found thousands and thousands of pig bones on the other side of this tiny little pond. Fascinating. Essentially, Decapolis was filled with and celebrated and represented everything that Israel was not. In fact, the Jews regarded the other side as the place literally where Satan lived and the demons hung out. It was dark, it was evil, it was oppressive, it was demonic. No one from the Jewish side would dare go to the other side, especially if you were a rabbi, because it was a threat. You would be unclean, a million things. In fact, earlier in the Hebrew scriptures, if you go all the way back to Exodus, when Moses delivers 1 million Jews out of Egypt, God says, I'm going to give you a place of milk and honey, which milk represents livestock, honey represents agriculture. And he goes, I'm going to give you a good part of a land where you're going to be able to flourish. The problem is there's some people there. And so I'm going to drive them out, and it's how you're going to know you're my God. In fact, if you go to Joshua chapter 3, he says, okay, here's what we're going to do. You don't need to remember the names, but count them with me. Today, he says, if you go all the way to Joshua chapter 3, verse 10, it says, today you will know the living God is with you. He will surely drive out the Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, Perizzites, Girgashites, Amorites, and Jebusites ahead of you. How many is that? 7. Now, I'm going to drive them out. And so these were the 7 nations of Canaan. Here's the other thing you have to understand about Decapolis, the other side. It was the center of Roman power in Jesus' day. So that's the oppressor. That's the power that be. They also had a legion of 6,000 Roman soldiers on the other side. And anybody want to take a shot at what the symbol for the Roman legion was? What animal do you think was their symbol? Pig. It was a boar's head. Go ahead, show it. Do you start to understand this is more than Yankees, Red Sox? This is the other side. It's oppression. It's Rome. It's everything that's wrong. It's our past. It's slavery. On our side is the land of milk and honey. So let me bring this to life for you in case you're not up on your geography, which I wouldn't expect you to be. So that's Africa. Now we're going to zoom all the way in. Boom. So right up here at the top, that's the Sea of Galilee. Also in the Bible, of the sea, it'll also be the Sea of Tiberias. So then you have this tiny little Jordan River. Jordan River is not very impressive either. It's, again, from me about to the exit sign. And then it goes all the way down to the Dead Sea. Now, look, based on the topography, one side is kind of brown and one side is kind of green. Where would be a good place to grow food and animals? Green side. So which side do you think Israel and Judah is on? The west, yeah, the west side. So over here, and again, by the way, they had 12 tribes of, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had 12 sons. The 12 tribes of Israel were the 12 tribes. They lasted about 10 minutes, and they already divided into 2 groups. They couldn't even get along. So you have Israel and Judah, and where are they? They're on the west side. That's the West Bank and all that. You have the Dead Sea, and then you have here. Now I'm going to give you some details, because I'm going to walk through Scripture, because this one's a really important that you don't take my narrative. You see it in the Word. We're going to show you a couple of other points of interest. So that's Israel's side. Go to the next one. Now that's Decapolis, 10 cities. That region is literally, where is that? Literally on the other side of the Sea of Galilee. Do you see it? Okay, and then outside of that, so that's the other side. And then you also have a group of people that are north. Go ahead and go to the next one. The Gerasene, that's gonna show up. The Gerasenes are right there in Decapolis. And then you're gonna have another group. There's gonna be a couple towns that show up in our reading today. Go ahead and go to the next one, called Tyre and Sidon. Somebody say Tyre. Somebody say Sidon. So that's not in the river, but that is Syria. That is modern day Syria, and it is ancient Syria. And if you know anything about the Syrians, it was as bad then as it is now. There's still like literally, when I went there was borders and AKs, and you don't go into Caesarea Philippi, it's Syria. So you have, just stay on your side. You got the bad guys up north, and you got the other side on the other side. Are you guys understanding this? All of these details are gonna matter. And so Jesus grew up in Nazareth, and where did he do all of his ministry? Where did he walk on water? Where did he heal people? Where did he feed? Where did he do all of his ministry? Israel. He's crushing it. Word's getting around, right? He's like, he's crushing it. So Mark, he's doing all this stuff. And then in Mark chapter 4, he tells his 12 teenage disciples, hey guys, I have an idea. Let's go to the, what do you think they were thinking? What? Yeah, no way. What are we doing? No. Did Jesus, he's just been awake too long, man. He's been praying. Like, I thought you said the other side. You didn't say the other side. It couldn't be the other side. It's like, no, let's go to the other side. So they get in the boat, and by the way, this is small enough that you can literally see where the boat goes. That's why the crowds would chase him wherever he landed. It's like, he's over there. It's easy, like a cartoon. They'd all run. I mean, it literally says that in like Mark 6 and 7. So he goes there. Mark 4 says to go to the other side. We pick up in Mark 5, and something happens to Jesus that has never happened. At this point, the word has gotten around about Jesus that everywhere he goes and he shows up on a boat, who's there to meet him? Everybody, a crowd. But something happens in Mark 5 that has never happened. Jesus goes to the other side, and who's there to meet him? No one. Why? He didn't belong there. You don't come over here. You don't belong here. Well, actually, there was one guy that met him. Mark chapter 5. Mom, let me preach. I love that you love the Bible, but I have the mic. Mark chapter 5. Again, all these details are about to matter. So they arrived at the what? Other side of the lake. And the region of the Gerasenes. And Jesus climbed out of a boat. A man possessed by an evil spirit came out of the tombs to meet him. So he had one guy meet him. A demon-possessed man. That's it. And I'm going to fast forward the story because we got to get through about 4 chapters. What happens is immediately the demon recognizes him as, have you come to cast us out? And Jesus, like, just with ultimate authority, he's like, I have. And they said, please don't send us far away from here. And there were 2,000 pigs on the hillside. And by the way, if you go to the other side, you can see there's only one place where there's a hill on the other side, actually. And it says that the demons went into 2,000 pigs, and 2,000 pigs ran off the cliff into the water. Again, there's all kinds of symbolism there that we don't have time to get into. But now all of a sudden, the farmers see this, and are they pumped that Jesus just healed a demon-possessed man? No, they just killed 2,000 of my pigs. That's my livelihood. That's my sacrifice. That's idol worship. And so do you think they were like, stay and teach us, Rabbi? What do you think their response was? Get out of here. I'll show you. Matthew 5, verse 7, or Mark 5, verse 17 says, and then the people pleaded with Jesus, just go. Please leave. It's the one too many days at Thanksgiving, the family you didn't invite, Cousin Eddie, please go. Your time is expired. He heals this guy, and then the demon-possessed man, though, what do you think his response was? Hey, let me come with you. But Jesus said, no. He said, I want you to go back to Decapolis and Gerasene, and I want you to tell everybody what this rabbi did. And what he didn't say, but what he could have said is, I'll be back. Because 2 weeks later, he was back. And so he says, go. And so then here's what happens. He goes to the other side and he does more ministry in his area in Nazareth and all that. And then in Mark chapter 6, we get to a point, and this is where it starts to get really, really good, and you gotta wanna pay attention to the details. Mark chapter 6, he's teaching, the people are all over, and everybody's been there a long time, and people are getting really hot, and they're famished, and everybody goes, we have no snacks. And so he's like, we gotta feed all these people. And the disciples are like, what do you mean feed all these people? And they're trying to do math, and Jesus is like, never mind, find me some food. And so a boy brings, you know the story, 5 loaves and 2 fish. And Jesus prays over it, and he blesses it. And it says the disciples, 5,000 men, they think 18 to 20,000 people. Jesus has his Oprah moment. You get some bread, and 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 you have some more tilapia. Like, everybody's eating. And he feeds 20,000 people, and it says, and again, symbolism was everything in that day. And it says, at the end of it, everybody had their fill, and there were 12 baskets left over. Why would there be 12 baskets left over? Because this is Israel. How many tribes were there? The 12 tribes. So Jesus is sending a message without using words. I am the God of more than enough for you and your tribe. I came to feed you. By the way, he's just preached a sermon on the Mount where he says, don't worry about what you'll eat or where you'll drink or what you'll wear. I can take care of that. And then he shows up a few days later. He's like, here's what I meant. And he feeds them. And there's enough left over. And so he's sending a message that not only will I take care of you and be what you need, I'm the God of more than enough for you. That's Mark chapter 6. Then we go to Mark 7. And Jesus says, hey guys, let's go north. How far? He's like, I was thinking Syria. These guys are like, what are we doing? I mean, I always think of the disciples. So I want to read this because I want you to see it. It says, then Jesus, I'm going to jump down to, now we're in Mark 7. Some other things have happened. We're in Mark 7. Jesus left Galilee. We know where Galilee is, right? The little pond. And he went north to the region of Tyre. Is that us? That's who? That's them. And it says this is so good. He didn't want anybody to know which house he was staying in, of course, duh. But to keep it a secret. Right away, a woman who heard about him, word had spread, came and fell at his feet. Her little girl was possessed by an evil spirit. She begged him to cast out the demon for her daughter. Now, she's going to use some turns of phrases, but watch this. It says she was a Gentile born in Syrian Phoenicia. Is she one of us? She's the enemy. She's part of the problem. And she says, heal my daughter. Jesus says, first, I should feed the children, my own family, the Jews. It isn't right to take food from the children and throw it to the dogs. He's actually using common rhetoric in that day that they would have said often, but he's actually testing this lady. It's fantastic. And she says this, that is true, Lord, but even the dogs under the table are allowed to eat the scraps from the children's plates. She says, I don't need what you have for your people. I've heard enough about you. I just need whatever drops on the floor, and that'll be more than enough for my daughter. And watch what he says. It's another person where you're like, your faith is better than all my people, basically. He says, good answer, now go home. The demon has already left your daughter. So now he goes into Syria. And he wasn't saying the Jews are better. He's saying he wanted to test her. He's like, where are you at with this? He's like, listen, I just want the scraps. And he's like, oh, no, I have way more than the scraps. And then the boys are like, are we going home? He's like, no, now we're going to go to Sidon. Verse 31, then Jesus left the vicinity of Tyre and went through Sidon. He went down to the Sea of Galilee to the region of, where are we now? The other side. You guys are really smart. This is awesome. You guys are doing great. We're now back at the other side. It's 2 weeks later. What are the disciples thinking? What are we doing here? Get us the crap out of here. That's what they're doing. Now, this time, something different happened. Jesus came back 2-3 weeks later. Guess what old demon-possessed boy had been doing in Decapolis? Let me tell you about a rabbi. 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 Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you my story. 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 In fact, I think he was just up inside. I'm pretty sure that's them. And he comes to the other side. And this time, there wasn't one man to meet him. Who was there to meet him? Everybody. And it says he sat and taught them for 3 days. History has never seen anything like this. Forget God. Human history has never seen this. Ever. 4,000, 6,000 years. Mark 8:1-2 says, about this time a large crowd gathered and people ran out of food again. Jesus called his disciples. He says, I feel sorry, many versions say compassion for these people. They've been here 3 days. They have nothing left. He basically says, we don't have time to get them any food. And the disciples are like, well, what are we going to do? These guys are so dumb. He's like, what do you mean we're going to do? 2 chapters ago, there were 20,000 people. Find me something. And so it says they found him 7 loaves of bread and some fish. And so they brought it to him. Now, he's sitting, and in fact, I'll read it to you. It says, how much do you have? Watch this. Verse 6 and 7. He says, so Jesus told the people, hey, sit down. He took the 7 loaves, thanked God, blessed it, broke it into pieces, and he gave them to his disciples who distributed it to the crowd. A few small fish were found, so Jesus blessed these and told the disciples to distribute them. Verse 8, the people ate and were satisfied afterwards. The disciples picked up what? Baskets of broken pieces that were left over. About 4,000 men were present. When I was growing up, I always thought that they tried to tell the same story, but they got the details wrong. What I didn't appreciate is if you go through the Gospels, Jesus raises people from the dead, he walks on water, he heals several blind people, several deaf people, but he never ever does the same thing twice. Sometimes he spits, sometimes he does wet willies, sometimes he just says it. It's a true story, go read it. It's fascinating. But he never does the same. There's only one miracle Jesus ever did the exact same way. I love that ringer. Wah, wah, wah. That's kind of what Jesus is doing. He's like, wah, wah. He was Clint before there was Clint. Only the boomers know that one. For those of you online, somebody's phone just went off and went, doo-doo-doo-doo, wah, wah, wah. Back to the story. There's only one story in the entire Bible. This is why I'm surprised you guys come back every week. I don't know why you do. There's only one miracle in the entire Gospels that Jesus does the exact same thing, the exact same way, twice. This. Because he's sending a message. He said, yeah, I broke bread and I had 12 baskets left over because I'm the God of more than enough for my people. Amen. And then he went to the other side and he broke bread and fish and had another Oprah moment, and he had 7 baskets left over. How many tribes of Canaan were there? 7. So then he also said this message: I'm also the God of more than enough for you guys. See, I didn't come for a side. I'm on the human side. You're all my children. I made all of you out of my image, and I choose to see the dignity and the humanity, and I choose to call all people to me. He does the exact same miracle. The enemy, the oppressor, the Syrian, the other side, he's like, I got you too. And we as Christians miss this because we want a Jesus, if we're honest, that only takes care of me and mine. And when you don't get yours, like, yeah, that's what happened. If you would have voted better or cheered for a better team, or if you would have agreed with me, or if you would have, and that's not how Jesus rolls. Now, this is where it gets y'all ready to be called a little bit higher and for Jesus to really, really, really challenge us. I don't know if you're ready because this is hard stuff. Then Jesus, they're done. He says, hey, it's time to go back. They're like, say less, let's go. Like these guys loads up, like let's get out of here. So it says they get in the boat quickly. And it says this, in Mark 8, verses 14 and 15, says, the disciples had forgotten to bring, these guys are starving. They've been feeding people. They didn't eat, dummies. He goes, and they forgot to bring bread except one loaf they had with them. So we're just gonna stop right there. Why do you think the disciples didn't eat? Because they were so busy doing ministry? Do you think that's what it was? Why wasn't it? We don't sit with them. We don't eat with them. We don't even share our crumbs with them, common rhetoric. They're not even worth the crumbs off of our table that the dogs eat. If they touched it, if you blessed it even, but they ate it, I don't want to they're going back to the side, and the Pharisees, go read it. The Pharisees are waiting for him. They're like, that was Jesus. We don't know. He took us to Tyre. He took us to Sidon. He's trying to kill us. We were at the other side. We told him no, but you know, he don't listen to nobody, especially you guys. Why do you think they didn't have any food? They're like, no. I won't eat with them. I won't associate with them. Cancel, hate, anger, out, dead to me. Ugh. That's what's going on. And Jesus, watch this. This is the part that I hope we're ready for. I've been praying all month for this. He knew what was going on in their hearts, and in verse 15 he says, now, good boys, he says, be careful. He says, be careful not to get too caught up. He says, watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees and the yeast of Herod. Now, if you know anything about that culture, bread was life, and if you had a little bit of yeast or leaven, it would ruin the whole thing. So that they knew what that meant. And so he says, the yeast of the Pharisees. Pharisees were the religious elites of the day, and Herod. And do you know what he meant when he said that? This is what he was saying. Do you want to know what will get you quicker off of my mission? Do you know what 2 things will keep you from following me with your whole heart faster than anything? Religion and government. The yeast of the Pharisees was literally religion, man-made rules to get to God. And the yeast of Herod was government and politics. And he said, if you want to miss me, the 2 easiest ways to get this all messed up, he goes, a little bit of politics and a little bit of religion will mess up what I'm doing, because I didn't come to tweak any system. I came to introduce a whole backwards, upside down kingdom. And I think if Jesus were here today, he would say, brothers and sisters, be careful not to let religion and politics be the very thing that keeps you from the heart and the mission of God. I just spent a week with my family up in Tennessee. We drove so far north, we were in the South. Do you know what they have everywhere in the South other than good barbecue? Churches. My goodness, we went by Catholic church, Baptist church, Methodist church, Assemblies of God church, Baptist church, Baptist church, Baptist church. Everybody's Baptist in the South. Baptist church on this side, Baptist church on that side, Baptist church a block, Presbyterian, Methodist. And I knew I'm preaching this. And I'm just like, look at us. We're God's kids. Did you know for the first 1,000 years there were no denominations? Just one. And it wasn't Catholic. It was nothing. The 11th century, we split into 2. And since then, the last 900 plus years, we've been splitting and splitting and splitting and splitting. You know who did that in Jesus' day? Pharisees. Well, baptism. Well, communion. Well, now listen, I'm saying we need to know God. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. But I'm going by these churches like we can't even agree on like the gospel. Every week. Can I be honest? Can I be really honest with you guys? Every week, I get one of you tell me I need to take a side on something. Every week. I am pulled every week to pick a side. And I have had this in my heart for almost a decade, and it is ruining my life and some of my influence because I can't do it. I'm not saying don't have values. I'm not saying I don't have things I stand for. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. Because some of you hear me like, well, are you saying abortion and pedophilia? No, don't even do that. Don't be dumb. What I'm saying is, I got to look at humans first. And I know too much. By the way, I've been writing this book. I've been working 3 years on writing this book. I've studied it deeply and intimately. I'm like, everything we read this week in the New Testament was Jesus going to somebody who was an outsider and not welcome in the temple or not welcome with the Jews or not welcome at a table. He's like, I'll invite you. You're welcome. Lame, welcome. Prostitute, welcome. Woman, welcome. Tax collector, welcome. In fact, why don't you be my disciple? Zealots are like, I'll kill him. He's like, just chill out, Peter. Pharisees, one guy's like, hey, tell me what this is about. He's like, how do you not know this? This is the radical movement of Jesus. He destroyed every social construct, social boundary, and he never once did it to condone their behavior. He did it to transform them and call them to a better way to live. So Jesus wasn't just going hanging out with all these people and be like, hey, I just want to chill, I want to party like a tax collector this Friday night. That's not what he was doing. The tax collectors knew they were hated. The lame knew they weren't welcome. The blind knew they couldn't go in the temple. He's like, no, then I'll bring it to you. We're side takers. Watch this, and here's Jesus' word to us. Watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees and that of Herod. Hey guys, go ahead and put up that screen for Pharisees and Herod, and then we'll come back to the verse 16. Sorry, I'm calling audible. So there you go. What's Pharisees? Religion, hypocrisy, legalism, unbelief. They knew the Bible so well, they missed the living word right in front of them. I had a mentor, a friend of mine once say, if there was ever such thing as a Pharisee today, it could only be us. So I got to check my heart. And then Herod, government politics, worldly power, moral corruption, and the opposite of God's kingdom. Jesus started the greatest movement. Would anybody debate me, not that we're gonna debate, but would you debate me that Jesus started the greatest movement that's ever been established in human history, right? You know he had no money, no power, no government, and no military, right? It's the only one that's made it past 450 years too. He says, that'll ruin you. Watch this, but they wouldn't associate. Mark 8, verse 16, help us, Jesus. Help us, Jesus. Help us get this, Jesus. This will change everything. So Jesus is arguing with the Pharisees, and he hears the disciples being knuckleheads over here, talking about, we don't have any bread, I'm not eating with them. And Jesus says, he's aware of the discussion. Verse 17, he says, why are you talking about having no bread? He goes, do you still not see or understand? Are your hearts that hard? Are you that dull? He's talking to his disciples, which by the way is who? Us. You have eyes to see, but you fail to see. You have ears, but you fail to hear. You don't remember? Watch this, what he says in verse 19. When I broke the 5 loaves and the 5,000, how many baskets did you pick up? What'd they say? 12. He goes, and then when I broke the 7 loaves for the 4,000, how many baskets did you pick up? 7. And then here's his response. Do you still not get it? And Jesus was saying, I didn't come for us. I didn't come for them. I came to destroy those words, and I came for one side, and it's the human side. Every tribe, tongue, nation, sinner, slave, free, Greek, Jew, American, Christian, non-Christian, atheist, Muslim, anybody who would have me, I'm here for all of it. Rich, poor, powerful, powerless. Do not see it. Do not, and this is what Jesus, and then the story ends. Do not get it. We're not doing things the way that everybody else does them. We refuse. By the way, this is why they killed him. Because do you know who killed him? Herod and the Pharisees. That's Easter, by the way. It's cool, he didn't stay dead. This is also why in almost every letter, and we'll get to it, when Paul writes these letters to all these churches, on almost every letter, you're gonna find some version of this. Galatians 3, 26 through 28. For you are all children of God through faith in Jesus Christ, and who have been united with Christ in baptism, have put on Christ like putting on new clothes. There is no longer Jew or Gentile, slave or free, male or female, you are all one in Christ. You know what Jesus is saying? He's not saying there's no more genders and there's no more ethnicity. What he's saying is we're not going to identify by that anymore. We're coming together under the banner of Christ. In another version, I think it's in Colossians, he says there's no Scythian or barbarian. Barbarian were like low class and Scythians were high class. He goes, doesn't matter. He goes, doesn't matter. Be whatever. Associate whatever. Vote however. Cool. But we are under the banner and the unity of Christ by the bond of the Spirit, he says somewhere else, Paul does. So Christians, church, how are we doing with this? So I'd like to address two groups of people. For those of us who are Christians, those of us who are followers of Jesus, or at least identify as such. Who in your life is them? Who are they? You hate them. You don't think God could save them. You want bad things to happen to them. You're excited when bad things happen to them. Everything we've said. Is there some hate? Is there some anger? Is there some prejudice that we just need to lay at the feet of Jesus today? Because in a moment, I'm going to pray and we're going to have an opportunity to repent and say, I've missed it. I've missed it. I'm so grateful I grew up underneath a black pastor from the South that said, brothers, we all have prejudice, and the sooner that we can acknowledge it, the sooner Jesus can work on it. But when we pretend like we don't got them, we're only fooling ourselves. And I have so many friends, and I have so many people, and so many relationships. This white boy, corn-fed Nebraska kid would have never had, but I follow this guy, and it has changed my life. And I don't get it right, but I stinking try, Ben. I try so hard. So for us, is there somebody you hate? Is there a them? Maybe it's this. Is there somebody who's on the outside that would never have been invited to your church, small group, or your table? And this week, it's time to extend an olive branch, an invitation. You think somebody's too sinful, too far gone, too prostitute, too tax collector, too lame, too blind. Bring them next week, just see what happens. Next week's gonna be good, by the way. For anybody who's not a Christian, not a believer, if at any point in your life it was this group, somebody like me or this group that made you feel like you weren't welcome here, that you were too marred, you were the scarlet letter, you have too much sin, you were maybe too sexually promiscuous, you were too addicted, you had too big of a rap sheet, if anybody made you feel like you're not welcome in the temple, you're not well in the gathering, I just want to let you know that's not Jesus. And I can say it so confidently because I know the word. There's a seat at his table and there's an invitation to his family. And we try really hard for this to be a safe place to do that. You have a seat here. You're welcome here. We're all just a bunch of bonehead, knucklehead disciples trying to follow this guy. There's no perfect people here. And the ones that think they are, we let them know. They left a long time ago, actually. I shouldn't say that. You know who you are? You watch us every week? They do. That's so messed up. But Jesus is knocking at your door and he's saying, hey, there's a seat at my table. There's room in my family. There's a place in my kingdom. And here's the beauty of the gospel. Close with this thought. We're over time. The beauty of the gospel is that anyone and everyone can be saved. That building's being built. It's not just for everyone for a building. For everyone will live forever, because for everyone is the heart of this church, that Jesus was for everyone. So we have to be for everyone. It doesn't mean we condone lifestyles and sin, but we look at humans first. We look at the image created first. So the beauty of the gospel is anyone and everyone can be saved. And here's the beauty of the Great Commission. Anyone and everyone can share their story in the gospel with someone else. So this is for all of us. We can all be saved and we can all help somebody else get here. So this week, maybe we do some heart work. Maybe we do some heart surgery. Maybe we start by just acknowledging some prejudices, some hate, some us-them language. And maybe this week we just catch ourselves just kind of eliminating as much us-them mentality, us-them texting, us-them messaging, us-them posting, us-them retweeting, us-them, and go, man, I'm working on this because Jesus only came for one side. It was the human side, and I'm just trying to be like him. So wherever you're at, would you bow your heads as we close? I feel like compelled to do this. Anybody be bold enough and honest enough to say, Jesus is speaking to me today. I got some them language in my heart I want to let go of. Pray with me, Pastor. Would you slip your hand up and would you be humble and bold enough and just be like, yeah, okay, awesome. That is the biggest step to like being a part of the solution. Is there anybody here said, I've been on the outside looking in, I've been kind of made to feel, or on my own accord, I feel like I don't belong, but I'd like to be a part of this if this is what you're talking about. I want to start a relationship with God today. Anybody here, raise your hand. Awesome. Heavenly Father, I pray, God, that you would help us. Heal our hearts. We're just like the disciples. We don't get it. Do you not understand? No, we don't. But we want to. And we know that you're patient, and you're full of grace, and you want us to get it. So I pray that you would, first of all, forgive us of our hatred, our prejudice, our us, them that got in our language. God, help us in a culture that just continues to suck us into their level of immaturity, that we would stay above it. And God, that we would be about your heart and your mission. God, would you forgive us? Would you wash us clean? Would you give us a new heart? Would you let your spirit cleanse us? And God, for those who raise their hands saying, I'm ready to start a relationship with God, all you got to do is invite him in. And he says he's going to change your heart and he's going to give you a new heart and put his spirit in you, and you'll never be the same again. And so God, we celebrate the addition to our family and to your kingdom today for all those who say yes to Jesus. And it's in Jesus' name we say, amen. One favor, if you raise your hand on the second one, said, I've started a relationship with God, we'd love you just to text the word Cape Yes to 94,000 on your way out. If you need prayer for anything, there's an online prayer team. There's a prayer team at Babcock Ranch. There's a prayer team right here. Let's ruminate this. And let's get a little bit better this week by the power of the Spirit, amen? Love you guys.